found the receipt by accident. It was folded inside Melissa's statistics textbook, the one she'd left on our shared coffee table after another late-night study session. I'd only picked it up to clear space for my laptop, hadn't meant to invade her privacy, but when the paper fluttered out, landing face up on the hardwood floor, I couldn't unsee what was written there. Payment received, academic consulting services, $5,000. Professor Davidson, spring semester grade adjustment. My hands went cold. I read it 3 times, each word burning itself into my memory with surgical precision. The date was from last semester, right before final grades posted, right before Melissa had somehow pulled a perfect A in advanced statistics, despite failing the midterms so catastrophically that Professor Davidson had recommended she drop the course. I remembered that conversation. Melissa crying at our kitchen table, mascara streaking her perfect makeup, telling me she was going to fail out of the graduate program. I'd stayed up with her until 3 a.m, walking her through practice problems, making flashcards, brewing endless cups of coffee. She'd hugged me afterward, called me her best friend, said she didn't know what she'd do without me. Then she'd gotten that A. I'd celebrated with her, proud of her turnaround, believing her story about finally understanding the material during the final exam. I'd been such a fool. My phone buzzed. A text from Melissa. Out with some friends from class. Don't wait up. XX. I stared at those casual words, those cheerful X's, and felt something fundamental shift inside me. Not anger, yet. Just a cold, clear recognition of reality replacing the comfortable illusions I'd been living in. I photographed the receipt from every angle, then carefully folded it back exactly how I'd found it. Tucked it into the same page of the textbook. Set everything back on the coffee table precisely as it had been. Then I sat down and began to think. The memories came in cascading waves, each one recontextualizing months of friendship. Melissa's miraculous recovery in research methods after she'd plagiarized her literature review. I'd caught the plagiarism myself, huge chunks lifted directly from published papers. I'd convinced her to rewrite it, stayed up helping her craft original arguments. But Professor Williams had still given her an A, even though her revised paper was objectively mediocre. Her perfect score on the econometrics final, despite never attending lectures and borrowing all my notes. She joked about having a photographic memory when it came to exams. I'd laughed along, thinking she was just naturally gifted at test-taking, the teaching assistantship she'd been awarded over me, despite my higher GPA and stronger research portfolio. The committee chair had cited her exceptional performance in core courses as the deciding factor. I'd congratulated her, pushed down my disappointment, told myself I'd work harder next semester. Every moment I'd felt inadequate, every time I'd questioned my own abilities, every achievement of hers I'd celebrated while secretly wondering why I couldn't measure up. All of it infected with this new knowledge. She hadn't been smarter or luckier or more talented. She'd been cheating, and I'd been the earnest fool working myself to exhaustion while she bought her success with daddy's money. The apartment was quiet, except for the hum of the refrigerator and my own steady breathing. I opened my laptop and began to search. If Melissa had bribed one professor, she'd likely bribed others. People who were willing to compromise their integrity once rarely stopped at once. I started with Professor Davidson's financial disclosures, public records for state university employees. Nothing unusual. But when I cross-referenced his recent purchases on social media, I found photos of a luxury vacation to the Maldives, a new Tesla, a Rolex watch he'd posted about last month captioned, "Treating myself." All in the past 6 months, all after spring semester grades posted. Professor Williams was harder to track, but I found her too. A sudden influx of donations to her research lab from an anonymous donor. Conference travel to exotic locations that the university budget wouldn't typically cover. designer clothes appearing in her Instagram posts, always carefully tagged with #blessed or #grateful without any further explanation. I made spreadsheets, timelines, cross-referenced every suspicious expense with Melissa's grade postings. The pattern was undeniable once you knew to look for it. 3 professors, 7 semesters, at least $30,000, probably more. My roommate, my friend, the person I'd trusted and helped and celebrated, she'd been systematically corrupting our entire program while I'd worked honestly for every B+, every sleepless night before exams, every paper I'd agonized over. I closed my laptop and sat in the darkness of our apartment, feeling the old Emma, the one who believed in fairness and hard work and the goodness of people, die quietly inside me. The new Emma who remained was colder, sharper, and she knew exactly what needed to be done. Melissa came home at midnight, slightly drunk, smelling of expensive perfume and wine. She found me on the couch reading. "Emma, you're still up!" She collapsed beside me, her head falling onto my shoulder, in that casual intimacy we'd developed over 2 years of living together. We went to this amazing new place downtown. You would have loved it. "Sounds fun," I said, my voice perfectly normal. "How was your day?" "Exhausting. Professor Thornton's class is literally impossible. I don't know how anyone is supposed to pass." She sighed dramatically. I might have to drop it if things don't improve. I thought of the statistics receipt, still hidden in her textbook 3 feet away. "I'm sure you'll figure something out," I said. "You always do." She squeezed my arm, already half asleep. "That's why I love you, Em. You always believe in me." I sat very still, letting her drift off against my shoulder, and I didn't feel guilty for what I was planning. Not even a little bit. Over the next 2 weeks, I became someone else. Or maybe I simply stopped being the version of myself that made me easy to exploit. I didn't confront Melissa, didn't leave anonymous tips with the administration, didn't do anything that would warn her I knew. Instead, I watched. I documented everything. I set up a separate cloud storage account and began compiling evidence. Photographs of suspicious receipts she left lying around. I found 3 more, each for different professors. Screenshots of text messages that appeared briefly on her phone when we studied together, arranging meetings with faculty members that never appeared on their official office hours. I tracked her schedule, noting when she'd claimed to be in the library, but her Instagram location tag showed her at expensive restaurants. I recorded the time she'd panic about failing a course, then mysteriously receive grade changes days before the deadline to withdraw. I befriended the other teaching assistants in our department, casually asking questions about grading procedures, grade appeals, the process for investigating academic dishonesty. I learned the system inside and out, understanding exactly how the university would respond when the evidence finally surfaced. Because I'd learned something from Melissa, even if she didn't know it. The game wasn't won by being loudest or most aggressive. It was won by being thorough, patient, and absolutely certain before you made your move. My own grades improved, not because I was working harder. I had always worked hard, but because I stopped doubting myself, stopped comparing my honest achievements to her fraudulent ones. The teaching assistantship coordinator noticed, mentioned I'd been on the shortlist all along, asked if I'd be interested in a position opening up next semester. "Absolutely," I told her, smiling. "I'd love that opportunity." Melissa threw me a small celebration when I told her, ordering Thai food and opening a bottle of wine. "See, I told you that you were brilliant. They'd be stupid not to choose you." I clinked my glass against hers and said nothing about the fact that she'd only gotten her position through bribery, that every compliment she gave me was poisoned by the knowledge that she'd never actually respected my abilities enough to compete fairly. That night, after she had gone to bed, I added 3 new documents to my evidence folder. The pattern was becoming impossible to deny. The breaking point came 6 weeks after I'd found the first receipt. Professor Thornton, the one Melissa had been worried about, announced a surprise comprehensive exam. 50% of our grade, no makeups, material from the entire semester, cumulative and brutal. The class erupted in panic. We had 1 week to prepare. Melissa's face went white. I can't fail this. If I get less than a B in this course, I'm on academic probation. She'd been coasting all semester, I realised, attending just enough classes to avoid attention, doing the bare minimum on assignments, waiting until she could buy her way to a passing grade at the end. The surprise exam had disrupted her strategy. We'll study together, I told her, already knowing she wouldn't. I can help you with the concepts you're struggling with. But that night, I found her in the bathroom, crying on the phone. I don't know what else to do, she was saying. Can you talk to him again? I'll pay double, triple, whatever it takes. A pause. Her father's voice rumbled through the speaker, too muffled for me to hear clearly. I know it's a lot of money, Daddy, but if I fail out, think about how that looks. Your daughter, a graduate school dropout? Her voice turned pleading, manipulative. You said you'd help me succeed. This is helping me succeed. Another pause. Thank you. I knew you'd understand. I'll make you proud, I promise. She hung up, splashed water on her face, and emerged from the bathroom with her makeup repaired and her expression bright. Everything okay? I asked from my position on the couch where I'd been pretending to read. Perfect. Just some family drama, nothing important. She grabbed her laptop. I'm going to the library to study. Don't wait up. She left at 9 p.m. and didn't return until 3 in the morning. When I checked her Instagram the next day, there were no library photos, just darkness and silence. But when Professor Thornton posted the exam results a week later, Melissa had somehow scored in the 95th percentile. My score was 93rd percentile. Honest, earned, 2 percentage points lower than her fraudulent grade. I stared at our names on the grade distribution, so close together, and felt the last thread of hesitation snap. She'd stolen from me, from all of us, from everyone who believed the system was supposed to mean something, and I was done staying silent. The university's academic integrity office had a small nondescript door on the second floor of the administration building. I'd walked past it dozens of times without ever really seeing it. Now I stood in front of it at 8:30 on a Monday morning, a thumb drive heavy in my pocket. The director, Dr. Patricia Reeves, was a stern woman in her 60s, with grey hair pulled into a severe bun and reading glasses that made her look perpetually sceptical. She invited me into her office and gestured at a chair. How can I help you, Miss Thompson? I pulled out the thumb drive. I need to report academic fraud, multiple cases, multiple professors, sustained pattern over several years. Her expression didn't change, but something sharpened in her gaze. That's a serious allegation. I have evidence, extensive documentation. I slid the drive across her desk. Payment receipts, text message screenshots, timeline analysis correlating payments with grade changes, financial records showing unusual expenses by faculty members, all organised chronologically with supporting documentation. Dr. Reeves picked up the drive, turning it over in her hands. Who is the student in question? Melissa Bradford, she's second-year graduate student in the economics department, roommate. I kept my voice level. The evidence involves Professors Davidson, Williams and Thornton at minimum. There may be others. And how did you obtain this information? The first receipt fell out of a textbook she left in our common area. After that, I started paying attention. I photographed materials she left in shared spaces. I documented public information about faculty expenses. I recorded patterns I'd noticed over 2 years of living with her and attending the same classes. I met her eyes. Everything I collected is legally obtained and verifiable. Dr. Reeves was silent for a long moment, studying me with an intensity that felt like being x-rayed. You understand this will destroy your roommate's academic career, possibly the careers of multiple faculty members. This kind of investigation is permanent, even if some allegations prove unfounded. I understand. And you're prepared for the consequences. Melissa will know you reported her. Your friendship... We're not friends, I interrupted quietly. We were never friends. I just didn't realise it until recently. Dr. Reeves nodded slowly, then plugged the thumb drive into her computer. The silence stretched as she clicked through files, her expression growing progressively darker. My God, she finally whispered. This is comprehensive. I'm a researcher, I said simply. It's what I do. She looked up at me, and for the first time I saw approval in her eyes. Miss Thompson, I need to inform you that once this investigation begins, you may be called to testify. You may face retaliation attempts. This could be ugly. I'm counting on it. The investigation launched 48 hours later. I wasn't there when they called Melissa into the dean's office. Didn't see her face when they presented the evidence. Asked her to explain the receipts, the pattern of payments, the miraculous grade improvements. But I heard about it. She came home that evening destroyed. Makeup ruined, eyes swollen, hands shaking as she unlocked the apartment door. She saw me sitting on the couch, the same couch where I'd found the first receipt 2 months ago, and her face crumpled. They're investigating me, she whispered, for academic fraud. Someone turned in evidence. They have everything, Emma, receipts, timelines, all of it. She looked at me like she expected comfort. Like she expected me to be horrified on her behalf, to offer support, to help her find a way out. I stayed very still. Emma? Her voice broke. Say something. Tell me this is going to be okay. Is it true? I asked quietly. She froze. What? The bribes, the payments. Did you do it? The silence stretched, heavy and damning. I watched her face cycle through emotions. Panic, calculation, desperation. She was trying to figure out what I knew, what I'd heard, whether she could still lie her way out. Who told you that? She finally asked, her voice turning sharp. Did someone say something to you? Because they're lying. Whatever you heard, it's not... The receipts fell out of your statistics textbook, I said, and watched the blood drain from her face. 2 months ago, I found the first one by accident. After that, I started looking, started documenting everything. The math clicked behind her eyes, the recognition dawning. You reported me. You've been bribing professors for years. You stole teaching positions that should have gone to students who actually earned them. You corrupted the entire academic system because you couldn't be bothered to do the work honestly. My voice stayed calm, almost gentle. Yes, Melissa, I reported you. She stared at me like I was a stranger. I thought you were my friend. I thought so too. I stood up, gathering my laptop and keys. But friends don't exploit each other. They don't build their success on someone else's honestly earned failure. I never... You're being dramatic. Every time I doubted myself because you were doing better than me. Every time I worked until 3 a.m. while you were out partying. Every achievement of yours I celebrated, thinking you deserved it. I moved toward my bedroom door. You stole all of that. You made me question my own competence so you could feel superior while cheating your way through graduate school. Emma, please. The investigation has everything. Payment records, grade change patterns, text messages you were careless enough to leave visible, witness testimony from TAs who noticed irregularities. I paused at my doorway. You're finished here. And this time, Daddy's money can't buy you out of consequences. I closed the door on her crying, and I didn't feel guilty. The investigation took 3 weeks. During that time, I moved into university housing. Let Melissa keep the apartment. I didn't want anything that carried the stench of her lies. She tried to call me 18 times, left voicemails ranging from apologetic to accusatory to threatening. I saved them all, forwarded them to Dr. Reeves as evidence of retaliation attempts, and blocked her number. The university worked with frightening efficiency once they started digging. Melissa's bank records, subpoenaed by the investigation committee, showed over $50,000 in payments to various consulting services that traced back to shell accounts belonging to professors. The pattern stretched back to her undergraduate years at her previous institution. There was evidence she'd bought her way into graduate school in the first place. Professor Davidson resigned the day before they planned to terminate him. Professor Williams tried to fight, but cracked under questioning, admitting to accepting payments from multiple students over 5 years. Professor Thornton denied everything until they showed him bank records with his signature. Then, suddenly developed a medical emergency that kept him from attending his own disciplinary hearing. All three would never teach again. Their names would be permanently tainted in academic circles. The university released a statement about their zero-tolerance policy for academic corruption, using the case as an example of their commitment to integrity. Melissa was expelled. No degree, no transcripts she could transfer. 5 years of graduate work erased because none of it was real. Her undergraduate institution launched their own investigation based on the findings, and I heard later that they revoked her bachelor's degree too. She moved back to her parents' house in Connecticut. I saw her father's statement in the local paper, something about how his daughter was the victim of a vindictive classmate's jealousy, and he was consulting lawyers about defamation suits. The lawsuits never materialized. Probably because every word I'd reported was true and provable. I was awarded the teaching assistantship Melissa had held. The department head apologized to me personally, admitted they should have noticed the irregularities sooner, thanked me for my courage in coming forward. I accepted graciously and felt nothing but cold satisfaction. The other students in my cohort treated me with a mixture of awe and wariness. I was the girl who'd brought down 3 professors and the department's golden student. Some people whispered that I was ruthless, calculating, that I had betrayed my roommate. I didn't bother correcting them, let them think what they wanted. I knew the truth. I hadn't betrayed Melissa. She'd betrayed every principle the university was supposed to stand for. She'd betrayed everyone who'd worked honestly, while she bought her grades like designer handbags. I had simply stopped protecting her from consequences. 6 months after the investigation closed, I defended my thesis. It was good work, excellent even, work I'd done entirely on my own, with no shortcuts, no bribery, no corruption. Professor Mitchell, who'd taken over Professor Davidson's courses, told me it was some of the strongest graduate research he'd seen in years. "You have a real future in this field, Emma. You always did." I thanked him and thought about how different those words felt now. No lingering doubt about whether I truly deserved them. No questioning whether someone else was secretly better, secretly smarter, secretly more worthy. Just the clean, honest knowledge that I'd earned every word of praise through my own merit. That evening, I walked past the apartment Melissa and I had shared. New tenants lived there now. I could see lights in the windows, hear laughter floating out into the cool night air. I thought about the girl I'd been when I'd moved into that apartment 2 years ago. Eager, trusting, ready to believe the best in people, ready to celebrate others' success, even when it meant ignoring my own worth. That girl had died the night I found the receipt. She'd died slowly, painfully, as each new piece of evidence revealed how thoroughly she'd been played. But something stronger had been born in her place. I pulled out my phone and looked at the last voicemail Melissa had left before I blocked her number. I'd saved it, though I'd never listened to it. Now, standing in the autumn darkness, I pressed play. Her voice was raw, broken. "I know you hate me. I know I can't fix this. But Emma, you ruined my life. You took everything from me. I hope you're happy now. I hope it was worth destroying someone who actually cared about you. I deleted the message and felt nothing but a distant academic curiosity about her ability to rewrite history. She'd never cared about me. She'd cared about having someone around who made her feel superior, who'd help her with the actual work while she focused on maintaining appearances. She'd cared about having a useful idiot, and I'd played the part perfectly. Not anymore. The university offered me a PhD position the following semester, full funding, research assistantship, a stipend that would actually let me live comfortably while I worked. You've demonstrated exceptional integrity and academic ability, the department head told me during the interview. The kind of character we want representing this institution. I accepted, without hesitation. That night, I went out with my new cohort, people who'd earned their positions honestly, who'd worked for every grade, who understood what it meant to build something real instead of buying a facade. We toasted to new beginnings, to hard work paying off, to the satisfaction of knowing we'd gotten there the right way. And I thought about Melissa, wherever she was, learning the hardest lesson of her life. That eventually the bill comes due. That you can't buy integrity, can't bribe your way to genuine respect, can't fake the kind of character that matters when everything else falls away. I'd loved her once, in the blind way you love people who you think are friends. I'd trusted her, celebrated her, made myself small so she could feel big. Those days were gone, burned away like fog in sunlight the moment I'd found that receipt. Now I stood in a bar, surrounded by people who'd earned their place, holding a glass of cheap wine, feeling the weight of my own transformation settle into my bones. Melissa had taught me something valuable, even if she hadn't meant to. That silence could be the most devastating weapon. That watching and waiting and gathering evidence was more powerful than confrontation. That sometimes justice required patience and precision instead of dramatic accusations. She'd taught me to be ruthless in pursuit of truth, and I'd used those lessons to destroy her completely. The music swelled around me. Someone made a joke about academic pressure. Everyone laughed, loose and happy, celebrating the end of midterms. I joined in, smiling, feeling the last remnants of the girl I'd been finally, completely, die. In her place stood someone harder, colder, infinitely more dangerous to anyone who mistook her silence for weakness. I raised my glass to the future. Mine, earned honestly, built on a foundation of truth instead of lies. And I didn't spare a single thought for the girl whose corruption I'd exposed, whose empire of fraud I'd dismantled, whose brilliant facade I'd shattered with nothing but documentation and patience. Melissa Bradford had played a rigged game and thought she was winning. I'd simply revealed that the house had been watching all along. And when you cheat, eventually the house always wins. I drained my glass and ordered another, surrounded by people who deserved to be there, in the life I'd fought for and claimed without apology. The old Emma would have felt guilty. The new Emma felt only the cold, perfect satisfaction of justice, served exactly as it should be. Some betrayals were too complete for forgiveness. Some people needed to be destroyed so others could thrive. And I'd learned I was capable of doing what needed to be done, without hesitation, without mercy, without a single moment of regret. That knowledge settled into me like armor. I would never be anyone's fool again.